Thanks very much, Susan. Now, have you ever wondered about the secret to a happy marriage? Not something I question much because Aileen, as you know, is the bee's knees. And that is the sound of my good husband brownie points being deposited into the brownie points bank. And I'm well in credit. But for those who would like to know the secret, according to a new US study, successful marriage hinges on wives calming down first after there has been a large Barney. So guys, be careful. If you jump in to resolve the problem first, it'll just lead to trouble. So when should we make peace after arguing, and what is the best approach if you strive for a happy marriage? We have been joined in the studio by husband and wife team, Fiona McKay and Brian McConnell. Good morning.
Good morning, Fred. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Fred.
An insight into how you guys work it out. First of all, how long have you guys been together?
16 years married.
16 years married.
But we lived together before that.
Okay.
I know. You were just about to get the first argument there.
But it would have been easily resolved. We could have gone online and had a look at the marriage certificate. I'm sure the Registrar of Scotland's got that. Easy access for people that ever been married. Is it 12? No, it's 20, you numpty. All right, okay. So 16 years married, and in all of those years, ever an argument?
Quite a few.
Quite a few.
More than one.
Uh-huh. My pal John Maloney's got a great line. He says, been married 15 years, only had one argument. It's lasted 15 years. So I'll send him a pint for that. So you have the occasional one. And of course, you'll pretty much know each other's arguing styles now.
Yeah, I have a bad habit of walking away.
You have a bad habit of walking away?
A bad habit of walking away.
From the argument?
Just not wanting to get into an argument about it. But Fiona goes, no, you need to open up.
Come here.
Come here.
Where do you think you're going?
Yeah.
There is an argument to be had. Yes. You're quite insistent.
Very insistent. No. If he freezes over, he's an only child, so he's had the luxury of having not developed some diplomacy around siblings like I have. So I am a pick at it until it actually comes out.
Right. So you know that you're going in for an argument.
Yeah, I'm quite fond of arguing though.
Right, okay.
Really fond of arguing.
Brian, do you enjoy the arguments, or would you rather make your
This is one of these situations, the wife's right here. Yes, I thoroughly enjoy it.
Right. Let's not talk about the argument itself then. We've established that there is an occasion when there might be an argument. Seems to me it's Fiona's fault. But it's not up to me to pass comment, okay? Let's go to the other end of the argument. What happens then? Who mellows first?
Brian does, I think.
I think probably it is myself. We've got to understand that there's always two sides, but they're always Fiona's. So you have to make some concessions, which is part of what you do. And you want to get a dinner the next night. You want to be able to be going forward, so you make accommodations. Okay. Well, I would have said I was probably the same. I think it would be. But then that is a kind of confession of guilt, is it not? That I'm saying, well, it's up to me to go and sort things out and make an apology. Is that the phone going? Is my wife in touch? Which is goes against what the Americans are finding out. Does that surprise you, Brian? Not really. I had a quick look at that study. It's quite a small study. So you go into metrics and stats, and it doesn't look a huge study to get a big view. And maybe that's just an American point of view. They're different. We are all different. It takes all types. I'm quite happy to open up conversations and see where they eventually go to. So I think that the longer that you are together, the more familiar you are, obviously, with each other's argumentative tactics, and you'll know the feeling is right, that the time is right to go and make this, sort of create a rope bridge for somebody to cross over.
I always say it as a backstop. If I wasn't interested in you and I didn't fancy you, I wouldn't argue with you.
Right.
Because I wouldn't engage.
Well, that's good to know, isn't it?
So
well, she really fancies me.
So you should take this as a compliment that I want to invest my time in an argument with you.
The fact that I give it headroom at all, I think, is a compliment to anybody.
Well, down in our Brighton studio, we have got author and agony uncle for the Daily Record, Alex Hooper-Hodson. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Fred.
Thanks very much for joining us. Now, you've heard Brian and Fiona there having a chat about the styles, the involvement, the investment in an argument, because she still fancies them and is interested in them. Are you surprised by these research results?
I didn't completely agree with the results of the study. No. I mean, I feel the same way. I think it was a small study. I mean, if you do look at the sort of the key message here, which is it's not whether you have rows that matter, it's how you manage the rows. I mean, they are inevitable if you're alive or even have a pulse, I think. And also, I mean, non-arguments would be a recipe for a coma, really. I mean, it is a key part of marriage. I think if we were to look at the study, what we could say is that the kind of key message they're trying to get across here is that men maybe try to make peace without actually having the issue out. And so what they say is to like draw a line under the issue and just start again, which doesn't always work, let's say, for the women in that scenario, because they actually want to sort of talk things through and actually find out what the the problem was and resolve it. While men just want the argument to be over. So, if that's how I would analyse the findings of that study. Anyway, I wouldn't necessarily say it's
Alex,
true. Though.
You'll get a lot of correspondence from people that are in marital strife and arguments have been raging.
That's right.
We're busy people these days. Is it possible to kind of reschedule an argument? Can you say this? I really don't have time for this now. Can we reconvene on Thursday?
I don't think it's possible to reschedule an argument, but I do think that people have sort of there are different generations of people at the moment. This study, to me, looks like it's of an older generation who maybe have a more traditional outlook, where, in a way, there's almost an insidious subtext to it, which sort of says marriage works fine provided women stay submissive and quiet. I mean, that's what I read from this study, which is that when the women make peace, the men are happy, and if the men actually try and sort of break out of their traditional gender role, they're actually being criticised as well at the same time. So, I don't think modern women like to be stifled and suppressed and subdued, and I think that modern men are a bit more sensitive than this and aren't necessarily just going to be so sort of caveman-like, really.
Right, okay. So there's a modern argument style then?
Yeah, I think people have changed quite a lot in the last 50 years. And I mean, actually, I did read through this article, and it did say that it was a study of people who have been, I think it was middle-aged and older couples, and they'd grown up in a world that treated men and women differently. So, and the last line of the study was, it will be interesting to see how these gender dynamics play out in younger couples. So it isn't necessarily geared towards the sort of, the 20, 30-something generation at the moment. Maybe it is something which is a bit left over from sort of, the past, really. I don't think it's current.
I'm not that great at mind reading, but I think Fiona and Brian will be thinking, have they brought us in here because we're one of the younger couples? Is that what you're trying to find out here, Fred? Is
Sigh of relief.
Yeah.
Alex, Fiona was saying that she enjoys an argument, and do you think that most couples should be arguing? Is it good or is it bad if you're not, basically?
It is good because obviously you need to work out the problems you have, and it's one method to come to a healthy resolution. And there's no way you're ever going to have a relationship where you get 98% of what you want all the time. You're going to have at least a ratio of sort of 49-51, to have a balanced relationship. And any relationship where one person gets what they want all the time and the other person doesn't is not a functional relationship. So arguments are the way you come to that resolution. But saying that, obviously, arguments don't make you feel great. And I think that if you're going to have arguments, you need to sort of look at the ratio of how much sort of arguing you do versus how much good stuff you do. So I would say, for every one argument, you need to have 5 good things happen. And that can just be ringing someone up and saying, I hope your job interview went well, or, I hope you had a good day, or just small things. But you do need to work to counterbalance those arguments, definitely.
Given that Fiona has said, no, come back here, come back, but we're going to have to sort this. If you know an argument's coming, Brian, have you ever kind of rehearsed how the argument might go before you go face to face with Fiona?
Well, it's kind of interesting to talk there about using, modern methods. Just back from Brazil yesterday on business. And if you're having that argument over FaceTime or Skype, it's amazing how quickly the Wi-Fi disappears.
Yeah.
You have to, yes. You relish the chance of getting it resolved.
And the good thing about doing that way, rather than face-to-face, is that GCHQ will be having a right good chuckle at it as well.
And the CIA, everybody else.
They're watching in. Because the rehearsing of the argument is something that I used to talk about in stand-up, which was, I found myself sitting in the car once on my own, and the argument was getting quite heated. I was at a set of traffic lights, and somebody in the car next to me was going, what on earth is going on?
And Alex, when would be the best time to make peace? When does it become festering? And when should you resolve it?
I mean, making peace. I think you have to look at the fact you argue for reasons, don't you? And I think that's kind of coming back to what I said earlier about men trying to just draw a line under the argument without really resolving the issue. So, and when I say men, I mean, I think in this study, more traditional sort of male sort of archetypes would perhaps do that.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would like to actually know that the issue is resolved if I'm having an argument with my partner. So my message would just be, make sure you actually, get to the root of things and come to some kind of agreement, rather than just see it as a kind of expression of anger and then just walk away having not resolved anything, because it will fester, as you say, yeah.
Now, Alex, would you like to give us, and not necessarily just Fiona and Brian, but all our listeners as well, some tips on how to make peace after an argument?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I want to go back to the thing I said earlier. Just after a bad row, you do need to have a certain sort of ratio of good, sort of good actions to make up for your bad action in the argument. And this is something that I actually got from a quite interesting book called Why Marriages Succeed or Fail by a guy called John Gottman. And he did some research just about praising each other enough, where he said that every healthy relationship needs, I think it's a 5-to-1 ratio of profit of praise over blame. So, in other words, it's not enough just to apologise. You actually have to make up with a sort of thoughtful and loving actions. And he says that, I think if your ratio drops from 5-to-1, so that's 5 good things to 1, let's say, argument, bad argument, if it drops from that to 3-to-1, then your marriage is probably in trouble. And if it drops to 2-to-1, you're highly likely to split up. So, yeah, his message is that sort of verbal abuse is a prime indicator of a bad relationship. So.
Would 5 diamonds take care of it?
Well, I think 1 diamond would probably last a good year in that scenario.
5 biggies. Right, somebody will better up their game. 5-to-1, my goodness. Okay, next tip.
I think as well, respect is a big key to relationships. I mean, I think the reasons why marriage succeed and fail, there's lots of reasons. I mean, you have to have basic compatibility, obviously. So marriages that last are based on similarity of personality and sort of respect for each other and shared values, shared ways of seeing the world and attitudes, just basic things like, let's say, punctuality or tidiness or anything of that sort. But you also need to know how to run a relationship too. So it's not just about what you have in common. It's also about, actually making it function. And there are facts as to why these sort of things work and don't work. So you need to get on board with that. And part of that is back to what I was saying about winning sort of, 50% of the time. You can't just have one partner dominate the relationship and sort of take up all of the things happening just for their sake, really.
These are good tips, Brian. Thank you very much for that. Sorry, Alex.
You're welcome, no problem.
I can see why you've got the job as Agony. Cool. And welcome home, Brian. Thank you for coming in the day after you got back, and Fiona as well. Good luck with the diamond thing. Keep us posted. It's 13 minutes to 11. Diaries at the ready, for the day of the doctor is nearly upon us.